That was Guy Delorney there in Cambodia. Now for an inspiring story from Canada. Barbara Arrowsmith-Young couldn't tell the time when she was in her early 20s. She could remember conversations word for word but couldn't understand them. Well, when Barbara was growing up in the 1950s, learning disabilities were barely understood. But inspired by a Soviet scientist, she says she managed to train her brain to overcome her disabilities, and she has since helped thousands of others to do the same. Well, Barbara is here with me now in the studio. Barbara, great to have you with us.
Thank you.
So just briefly outline for us, what exactly were your learning difficulties, learning disabilities?
I had a series. I couldn't understand language, so what now might be called auditory processing. If I heard somebody say anything beyond "it's raining outside," which was very concrete, anything abstract that had a relationship in it or required some sort of understanding, I couldn't understand. So I would play it over and over again like a tape recorder to try to get meaning, but I couldn't. So it was really socially isolating. I mean, the world was going by me and I couldn't understand. If I read something, I didn't understand it.
And you came from a fairly high-achieving household, didn't you? Father was an engineer.
Yes, and my mother had a degree in nutrition, and all of my brothers were very bright, and I was the one that really struggled in
school. And
school.
were they helped at all to try to help you?
My mother did in grade 1 in terms of teaching me how to read and how to write, but there was no understanding of what the source of the learning disability was, that it was really a part of my brain that wasn't working.
You read backwards, did you?
I read backwards, I wrote backwards. If I had to add 12 plus 31, I would change that to 21 plus 13, and then I would reverse the answer. So everything in my world was confused.
Really very
and
jumbled and so
very
on.
jumbled.
So how on earth did you overcome this? I mean, and how did you come to know what to do yourself?
Well, I was very determined. I mean, again, I grew up in a family where there was a belief that if something didn't exist, you created it. My father had 30 patents to his name, so I just kept hunting for a solution. I had to believe that there was something out there, and I came across Luria's work, the Russian neuroscientist, that was looking at what do different parts of the brain do, and reading a story that he wrote about somebody that had a bullet hole wound to an area. It was like this man was living my life. He couldn't tell time, he couldn't understand meaning. So I knew it was the brain, and then there was research coming out of labs with rats on neuroplasticity that the brain was plastic, that it could actually change, grow dendrites, increase neurotransmitters, and then those rats learnt better.
So what kind of exercises did you do, and did you devise them yourselves? And give us an example of a brain exercise.
The first exercise for myself was clocks. I'd never been able to tell time, and if you think about a clock, it's seeing a relationship between an hour hand and a minute hand. And so I would diligently draw a clock after clock after clock and try to understand how to read it and what it meant. And once I started to be able to read two-handed clocks, then I went on to three. And it wasn't I wanted to tell
time. Looking at these numbers now on the screen, back to front, so you just kept on writing numbers in the correct sequence.
That's right, and try to see the relationship. It was forcing that brain area to work, to do what it needed to do over and over, like 8-9 hours.
All sorts of things,
yes.
Telling the time, reading correctly, so on. And you've gone on to help others.
I have. I now have programs for 19 different cognitive areas, from the child that can't read non-verbally, the person that's face blind that doesn't recognize faces of their friends,
victims,
of people.
All sorts of people, not just congenital problems.
Yeah, I've worked definitely with strokes and aneurysms, but mainly people with learning disabilities that are born with some really significant cognitive deficits that through this work it can be changed, and we're changing the capacity of the learner to learn. We're not modifying the curriculum, we're actually making the learner's brain work more effectively.
And you're just now completely normal?
Yes,
I
can function. I can listen to this conversation and understand it.
Terrific, I can see that. Barbara Arrowsmith-Young, best luck for the future, and thanks very much indeed for talking to us. Very inspiring lady there from Canada. And that's all from GMT, from me, Zainab Badawi, and the rest of the team. Goodbye.
The Salzburg Festival has the broadest artistic